Problem number 5. A used car depot wants to study the relationship between the age of a car and its selling price. Listed below is a random sample of 9 cars sold at the depot during the last 3 months. First step is to identify the null and alternative hypotheses. As you can see po, in the given problem, the degree of relationship is not stated. So, automatic po, the null hypothesis is R is equal to 0 and the alternative hypothesis is R is not equal to 0. The statement form for the null hypothesis is there's no significant relationship between the age of a car and its selling price. And for the alternative hypothesis, we have there is a significant relationship between the age of a car and its selling price. For step 2, for problems under person R correlation, we have to identify the alpha level, the number of tailed tests, and the degrees of freedom. For the alpha level, as you can see, it is not stated in the given problem. So if the alpha level is not stated in the given problem, then automatically the alpha level for that given problem is 0.05. The number of tail tests will be determined with the basis of the mathematical symbol used in the alternative hypothesis. So, in the alternative hypothesis, for this given word problem, the mathematical symbol used is not equal sign. So, therefore, the number of tail tests for this problem is 2 tail tests. For the degrees of freedom, the formula is n minus 2. So, n symbolizes or represents the number of paired data given in the problem or in the table. Substituting the value for n, if you can recall po, in this problem we have 9 samples. So, the equation for the degrees of freedom will be 9 minus 2. Simplifying, the degrees of freedom is 7. Step 3, identify the statistical test that you're going to use for this given word problem. For the statistical test, it is person-R correlation because as you can see po, in the given word problem, we are looking for the relationship between the two given variables. If that is the case, we are looking for the relationship of two variables, then automatically, the statistical test that we should use is person-R correlation. If you cannot follow po the instructions here and you cannot manipulate your own calculator, all you have to do po is send me a picture of your calculator and from there I will just guide you.
Shortcut method, stats, I mode, tapos stat, tapos a plus bx, then we have 2.5 equal sign 4 equal sign 3.5 equal sign 7 equal sign 6 equal sign 10 equal sign 8 equal sign 4 equal sign 3 equal sign. And then for the y values, we have 400 equal sign 300 equal sign, tapos 250 equal sign 190 equal sign, tapos 280 equal sign 120 equal sign 170 equal sign 320 equal sign 350 equal sign. And then after inputting all the values, you press on, then you will solve for the summations. So we press shift, tapos stat, tapos sum, and then we get the summation of x equal sign, and then getting the summation of y, we repeat the process, tapos summation of y. Then for the summation of xy, shift, stat, sum, and then xy, and then summation of x squared, shift, stat, sum, summation of x squared equal sign. Next, last one, summation of y squared, shift, sum, then summation of y squared equal sign. That's it po.
Step 4 is the computation. Now that we know the values for the summation, we can now substitute those values in the given formula for us to get the R computed. So again, here's the formula for the R computed. Substituting the values, we have 9 times 10,975 minus the product of 48 and 2,380 all over the square root of the product of the quantity of 9 times 308.5 minus 48 squared and the quantity of 9 minus 695,200 minus 2,380 squared. I discourage you po to directly solve this in your calculator because of the amount of numbers that we have, and I'm not really sure if your calculators can parang like you can input everything in your calculator. So I highly suggest you compute for the numerator first, and then you simplify the denominator, and then you divide the numerator by the denominator, and then that's the time you can compute for the R computed.
Solving for R computed, we compute for the numerator first. We have 9 tapos open 10,975 close minus open 48 close open 2,380 close equal sign. So the value for the numerator is negative 15,465. Next, solving for the denominator, square root, tapos open, tapos 9, then open ulit, 308.5, then close, tapos minus, open 48, close, squared, close. Tapos open 9, then open ulit 695,200, tapos close, tapos minus open 2,380, tapos close, squared, close, and then equal sign. That is the value for your denominator. And then solving for the R computed, we have the numerator as negative 15,465 all over 16,730.48, and then you press equal sign, then that's it po. We have negative 0.92.
Step 5 is the decision rule. Decision rule for person R correlation is reject null hypotheses if the absolute value of the R computed is greater than or equal to the absolute value of your R tabular. Identifying the R tabular, just like what we did in the previous lessons, we have to go back to step 2 and recall the alpha level, the tail test, and the degrees of freedom. Locating the degrees of freedom, in the first column we have 7, and we have to draw an imaginary horizontal line that will pass through 7. Next is to locate the two-tailed test, which is in the second row, and look for the level of significance equivalent to 0.05, and draw an imaginary vertical line that will pass through 0.05. And the intersection of those two imaginary lines will be the value for your R tabular. Substituting the R computed and R tabular in our decision rule, we have reject null hypothesis if the absolute value of 0.92 or negative 0.92 is greater than or equal to the absolute value of 0.6664. Step 6, identify if we have to reject the null hypothesis or we fail to reject the null hypothesis. To know if we reject null hypothesis or we fail to reject the null hypothesis, we have to go back to the mathematical statement and the decision rule and check if it is true or false. So for this problem, we have the absolute value of negative 0.92 is greater than the absolute value of 0.6664. And extracting the absolute values, all the negative numbers will become positive. So we have 0.92 is greater than or equal to 0.6664, which is true. So meaning to say po, we reject null hypothesis. Next step and last step for this given problem is the conclusion. Rejecting the null hypothesis, the basis for our conclusion is alternative hypothesis. Therefore, our conclusion is there is a significant relationship between the age of a car and its selling price. Identifying the degree of relationship, we will locate the R computed in this table. So since our R computed is negative 0.92, it is in the range of negative 90 to negative 1, and the interpretation is very high negative correlation. If you will ask me po na, ma'am, what's the meaning of that negative sign in this given problem po? The meaning of the negative sign is that the relationship between the two given variables is inversely proportional, na when the first variable is increasing, the second variable is decreasing, or vice versa. If the first variable is decreasing, the second variable is increasing. So in person R, that's the meaning of the negative sign. For the final conclusion, we have there is a very high negative correlation between the age of a car and its selling price. Or you can write the conclusion as the relationship between the age of a car and its selling price is highly inverse. If we will apply the negative correlation in this given problem, what they are trying to say is that as the age of the car is increasing, its selling price is decreasing, which is true because the value for a car is depreciating po, diba? And if the age of a car is decreasing, its selling price is increasing. Na if the car is brand new, then the selling price is really high.